And we are live for episode 27 of Lowering the Barrier. Today I have a very special guest. His name is Mike Doehla. A lot of you are probably familiar with him, but if you're not, he's somebody who's done quite a bit in this industry. I would say he's one of the most successful people in the industry, and he's probably a little bit too humble to say that. Maybe at this
Yeah.
point he'd admit it, but he built and sold a wildly successful nutrition coaching company called Stronger You. He's helped literally thousands of people transform their health through nutrition and just practical tips. And now he's enjoying his time being a dad, husband, and pickleball aficionado. Clients and coaches alike love him for his no bullshit takes on the nutrition and coaching field. And I couldn't be happier to have him on the podcast. He started out as kind of a mentor, and he still is that, but he quickly became a friend to me. And so, anyway, Mike Doehla, welcome to the show.
Yeah, you said a lot there. And one thing that I think is interesting is when you say I'm one of the most successful people in this industry, it means the industry needs to get a lot more successful because I am not that special. Yeah, in terms of the tech world, I am nothing. But in terms of coaching, I guess it's a big deal. So yeah.
In terms of coaching, you're in the top 1%.
All right,
Definitely.
yeah, cool. I'll take it.
I mean, you have to be.
Status.
Somebody else.
Look at me. Yeah.
Somebody else who comes to mind is oh my gosh, what's his name? Mark Carroll. Mark Carroll out of he's from Australia. Dude, that dude's killing it. Have you ever seen his house?
No, I have a relatively modest house, but yeah.
Mark Carroll lives, I don't remember, like Gold Coast or something like that in Australia, I think. Anyways, he posted a photo of his house. He got Lamborghini. He's got all kinds of cars. It's crazy, and he was just like,
I don't care about those things. I think like a Porsche 911 would be cool, but that's like half the price of a Lamborghini and a lot less of the hate and attention. So
Yeah,
I've heard
it
referred to as the gentleman's supercar. The other ones,
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting.
The other day when you post on your on your Instagram story the Porsche that was in somebody's house. And you had to clarify, like, this isn't mine.
It was in a dealership. It was like a 1979, like some sort of special 911. It had 8,000 miles on it. It was awesome, beautiful car. It was at the dealership, and I posted a picture. And I just posted the picture, and I said, I think it was 459 or 450 or whatever. Turns out I was wrong. It was 499, 499,000. And I was getting a bunch of messages. People were like, "Did you buy it?" And then I had to follow up with another story that, like, I was embarrassed that, like, I would never just post a car and say how much it cost. Be like, "Look, I bought this." That would be weird. I would do that, however, if I accidentally walked up to the cash register at a grocery store with an organic apple. I might just be like, "Yeah, whatever, organic. I'll overpay. It doesn't matter."
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so I actually thought that was in somebody's house, by the way. I thought that was a decoration in somebody's house. I thought you were at like some billionaire's house or something like that. Like one of your
I don't know any billionaires. No. Yeah.
Well,
but anyway. That's what those cars are. Like a 1979 car. Like, I'm not going to do public.
That's not your daily driver.
I don't know how old that car is, how many years, but that car just sits in a garage, and it's like, look what I have, guys.
Yeah, that's a trophy. It's not a daily driver. Nobody's picking that up.
But yeah, I mean, I don't the trophy things, like the status stuff, like it's, I don't know, you come and go with that stuff. You get some cool stuff and you realize you buy it for the wrong reasons, and then you're like, okay, I won't do that again. That was stupid. But
I think that makes you pretty relatable. I think if for a lot of people, I'd love to say how humble I would be if I built a company like Stronger You and sold it. And I don't know, like, I can't say for sure, but I think it, it does help people kind of like, Mike Doehla is still that guy. Like, he's still very approachable. I can still talk to him. You put up these Q&As on your stories sometimes for, general population, air quote, and coaches alike. And it's like, you're just giving free advice out. So I think that's really cool that you haven't, become, I don't know, super disconnected, I guess.
Yeah,
doing your thing and playing pickleball.
Yeah, I like to just mix in. I don't want to be like this thing that's like, this guy did this thing and he sold the company and he's good. It's like, I have like a $25 hoodie on. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I have some cool stuff, but I don't know. I feel like, why would you want to be that when most people are not that? You just kind of become more hateable. And I like this group of people. I don't want to be among what you would call the one percenters. Like, ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, I get that. So, you had some time away from after your sale of Stronger You, after building it up and, then selling it. You've had some time away. Do you think your perspective has changed on whether it's toward life or coaching or business? Have you noticed anything that's really changed since that?
A lot of things, especially since having kids. I was very into the business stuff. I was like definition of like grind, hustle, like kind of mentally 24/7. If I wasn't thinking about it, I was probably dreaming about it, which I would probably even count as work in some sense. So yeah, man, I think for to have the success we had with the company, it was necessary.
Yeah.
But when we were in a place that we didn't need me to be on like that, it was really nice to notice. But it was also evident that not being on like that did make things suffer a little bit in terms of the business success. Um, it's just nature of the beast with the business like this. You have to be present. But yeah, things have shifted greatly, and I like to think of like business success or financial success as very similar to like our clients and stuff getting abs. They think they get the abs, and they're like, "I did it. I'm going to be happy. This is amazing." And then they get it, and they're like, "Oh, okay. It's really not that much different. It's just kind of a bigger pain in the ass to maintain at this point." So yeah, things change. I've matured a lot. Not that I was immature, although I still do laugh at some silly things on the internet. Um, but dude, how can it not change your perspective when you bring these little children into the world and you just start to look at the world a little bit differently? I would have done a lot of things, maybe, I don't know, a little different running the business. This whole capitalism thing is really interesting. As what you could consider a winner of capitalism, looking back and hating many aspects of it is kind of hypocritical, but it's also seasons of life.
For somebody who, I think you did it about as well, in the capitalistic, perspective. I think you did it as well as most people who want to become parents would like to do it. Like you have two young daughters still. They're not like 16, 18, 20. They're not moved out of the house yet. You're able to spend more time with them now. That, honestly, and in my perspective, it's a bit of a bummer when people can't spend time with their
Yeah.
kids because they are, driven to work. Sorry for the listeners that, that made people feel bad. But, for people who are like the business owners who, you mentioned, like it's basically 24/7,
Yeah.
when you're not typing something on the computer, you're thinking about something that's about the business. I mean, it is around the clock.
Yeah.
So for the people who either don't have kids or do have kids, what is that work life balance? I guess let's think back to when you were at Stronger You. What would it have been like? Do you have the same growth? What's that work life balance like when, if you did have two daughters, same age as they are now, but you're in the midst, the middle of growing Stronger You?
No, impossible. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to BS people and say, "Oh, it would have been the same. I would have just dialed it back. Oh, if I would have rested, I would have been even more recovered and working more efficiently." No, nonsense. My presence was just it was like none other in the coaching space. Like everyone you talk to was like, "Dude, this guy was everywhere. He was in all these groups. He was commenting. People thought I was a robot at times. Facebook put a restriction on my thing for a couple hours because I was responding to so many people. Like it was nuts. How could I do that when these little children pop out? You know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
couldn't. And that's why like there was something I was reading in Sahil Bloom's book. I think it was like of the 10 as the writing of the book, as the 10 richest men in the world, there's 12 divorces among them. And that makes
Wow.
sense because their life is their job and everything
Yeah.
else comes secondary. And I didn't want that. Um, there's people like in circles that are kind of adjacent to you where you see that affect their what is literally the most important thing to people when they're asked about it when they're on their deathbed. So I could not have done what I did with children. Um, it would have been impossible. The attention just couldn't have worked. And that's not the case for every business, but I think that was for the magic we had at Stronger You. I had to be that present.
especially with the pace, that you guys grew at. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
maybe this 50-year business that took time to grow. It's you did it faster. And so I'd almost equate it to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I haven't had that business success that you've had yet. I'm going to put that asterisk there. Give me some time. But, uh, I think it's kind of like talking to a client who's maybe they're 250 pounds and they have a goal weight of 200 pounds, or they have a goal weight of getting abs, or whatever it is, right? And it's like, I want to do this in 2 weeks. It's like, not going to happen. Okay, I want to do this in 2 months. Well, what does your life look like? Do you have two young daughters? Do you have, a really busy job? Are you able to, or do you have a private chef, a personal trainer that's coming to your house 5 times a week? Do you have, you know, access to all the information in the world, that's tailored to you? And so it's like, maybe you have to extend the timeline a little bit for the business growth. Um, so, okay, moving past, putting stronger you now in the past, what's exciting you right now? I mean, for the listeners, Mike and I meet. I swear to God, it's like we just talk a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like, especially lately. I mean, we hopped on back to back calls week to week. But you mentioned a few different interests. Maybe mentorship, maybe like some kind of AI and coaching. Just you're curious about that, and then
Yeah.
obviously the
Right.
number one is pickleball right now. Which
Yeah.
what's exciting you?
So I think like constantly I think about, and I don't know if I'm going to get back into the field one day. Like as many people know, I still have a non-compete. I always joke that I know exactly how many days it is.
You have
Uh,
it on your phone, don't you?
no, no, no. I just Google it
No.
really quick. It's
Okay.
really easy to find out.
I thought
It's
you
like
had like a countdown timer on your
no,
on your
no,
phone.
like 489 days or something. I can work in the field again. That includes mentorship. I think that excites me the most because it's the most controllable with my own time.
Yeah.
If I started another coaching business, I feel like I would like go full bore and want to hire like people and save the world again. And I don't want any distractions for what matters most to me, which is my family and pickleball. I sound like a weirdo and all this stuff like because I came up when like CrossFit was real popular and I had a CrossFit facility in my 2-car garage, my old house. It was nothing special. It failed miserably, and I pivoted to online nutrition, luckily. But I was in that world, and I helped a lot of CrossFit people early on. And I remember all the comments about like it being a cult. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a community that people are like super psyched about. And that the same thing is happening in pickleball. Like everyone's nuts about it. So we
Yeah.
have to ask, like, is it a bad thing to be called a cult? Like, if you're making people drink Kool-Aid and they're dying and things like that, yeah, that's probably pretty bad. But if people are like hanging out with each other and ticking the boxes of like what makes a fulfilling life and they're active and getting better at things, like awesome. Sign me up for that pickleball cult. So I'm into
Right.
it. I probably annoy people how much I talk about it, but uh, I just got back from it. It's awesome, man. So just thoughts about like what makes a fulfilling life, pickleball, family, Lego stuff, books, hanging out. Like, I don't know, man. I think I figured it out and I want other people to figure it out as well. And, one day we'll talk about the system I created. I'm not ready to release anything yet, but yeah, it's fun, man.
I know you read a lot of books. I actually have Sahil Bloom's book right over here. I just got it. Just released to the general population.
Yeah.
Um, would you ever write a book?
So funny you mentioned that. I actually have a book written that I probably will never release. It was basically like my nutritional philosophies and concepts,
Mm,
about 50,000 words. I was
wow.
going to release it, and I got kind of like, I was lazy about editing again. I was at the end of my Stronger You tenure. I was leaving the company, so I didn't really want to have all these like loose ends tied up to it.
Mm,
Um, there was a lot of concepts like I probably wanted to alter a little bit. And I think I was getting a little self conscious about how a lot of the market was like scared to talk about fat loss,
yeah.
which I heavily disagree with at this point. I think people need to talk about it and be open to it because it does make people healthier and happier ultimately. I was just getting like a little weird about it all. And I was like, I don't want to put this out and just get yelled at by activists online. And so I just kind of like tabled it. I don't know if I'll do anything with it. Um, I do kind of get interested in writing even if it's for me or my kids, like the story of Stronger You, like here's how it happened. Like just had an idea, picked up a cell phone, started talking about sugar being okay in moderation, getting yelled at, basically people throwing tomatoes at me through the comments on Facebook. But then I showed them it could work. So I think about that. Um, I don't know if the idea is more attractive than actually sitting down and doing it, but I do like to write. I think that's one thing I do miss because when I was building the company, like I was constantly pumping out stuff, like longer
Mm-hmm.
form stuff, like I don't know, a couple hundred words of thoughts. You know, you don't see that online much anymore. So I miss that. Um, but also these kids, man, they're always running up. If I'm trying to type something, I'm getting interrupted. So it's a great problem to have, but it's very hard to write and
Tough to
articulate
stay
thoughts.
focused. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
One of the things that I want to come back to is you mentioned that for you, growing Stronger You kind of started out as getting into this CrossFit community and just like offering nutrition because
Yeah.
CrossFit, obviously, you know, training, lifting, stuff like that, but they don't really cover much nutrition, or at least they didn't at the time. So would you say that's one path to growing a coaching business is to get into a niche and just kind of like cement yourself? And maybe that niche right now that's exploding is pickleball, for example.
Yeah. So I actually thought about this. I'm what if someone catered towards pickleballers and they did their nutrition? Like, I don't see it out there. Someone could steal my idea. I can't do it for 489 days. But yeah, dude, it was, and like, I've talked about this a million times. The luck and circumstance of this story is like, we were on the tail end of the paleo diet where everyone was like, wait, this thing is not really doing what I thought it would do. And we were at the height of what I think was like the CrossFit boom, where they didn't really have nutrition in the gyms. Now I think a lot of people that own the gyms are trying to do it, which is cool. But we would come in and we would offer nutrition. And you know, these CrossFitters, like they all knew everybody. It was one of the appeals of CrossFit is like you show up and you know people. And commercial gyms, you don't see that. Like the guy over there, the girl over there, I don't know their names. I might see them. I might give them like a head nod, but no conversation. CrossFit was different. So you get one of these people on your program, they change after months of never changing, but always showing up to the workouts. Then your business explodes. So I think these niches are amazing, but I think you need to pick the right ones. Like I think a lot of people go a little bit too broad and they think that these people are just going to stumble across their Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. I don't know, man. I think you have to go to the places. And there was I've said this a million times, and there was a Sean Purry from My First Million said it the other day. He said something about you have to go where the fish are, not where all the fishermen are. And I think
Mm,
that's the problem that a lot of people in our space have. They're all on Instagram. Everyone on
right.
Instagram has their fishing pole out for these fish, but it's like where are the actual fish? Are they on pickleball courts? Are they in CrossFit gyms? Are they on the treadmill next to you in Orange Theory? Are they at your bowling league? Like people need to join things where people actually exist, but I don't think they want to do that because it's a lot easier to type something online or film a video and just hit post. But then it's like your fishing pole is getting tangled with all the other ones. So maybe you have to go somewhere where there's no more poles.
You know, the interesting thing about social media is it's like playing slots. You know,
Yeah.
you create the social media post, you pull the lever, and you hope for a jackpot. That jackpot is going viral. What a Okay, as somebody who's gone viral a few times now, you know, millions of views on some posts and even like 11 million views on one of my TikToks. I'll tell you, you know how much business has come from 11 million views?
Yeah.
I have gotten zero clients from that post. What I've
Yeah.
got, what I get clients from is like, yeah, I mean, I've gotten 99% of my client, probably 90% of my clients from social media, with the other 10% coming from friends, family, or referrals of clients, right?
Right.
And so it's like social media has been great, but I 100% agree. If I were to do it over again, you know, I started just reaching out to friends, family, and that was great. You know,
Yeah.
marketing their testimonials, offering coaching for very, very low cost or free, and then asking for tests or asking for referrals from happy clients, you know, and
Right.
marketing their results, which I know that's something I definitely want to get into with you is like
Yeah. I have.
marketing client results. But
Yeah. I have
um,
strong opinions about that.
we're
Yeah.
going to get into that in a minute. Before we do, though, let's talk about pickleball a little bit more. So, Okay, you said you're aiming for a 4.0 rating, right? Can you put is that the rating you're shooting for this year?
Yeah, so I would love to be a 4.0 pickleball player, which is pretty good, not great, but like most places you show up, like open play, you'll be one of the better players there.
And so with a 4.0 rating, you mentioned that you might want to get into coaching,
I don't know, maybe it could be
maybe.
fun. I kind of do, but I don't
What's
know.
what drew you into pickleball in the first place, and then what got you hooked?
So I think it was my friend Andrew. He was like, "Hey, just come play pickleball with me." Like I met him. We played singles, which no one really plays singles in pickleball, because it's more like a community thing. So everybody does doubles. And we played, and I was like, "This is cool." He kicked the crap out of me, and I was like, I was hooked because I think when I sold the business and I stepped away and I just was playing dad, I didn't have anything that was like getting me in a flow state. I didn't have anything that was really like a community anymore because I left it behind basically. Community was like my company and the people there. You could argue like the fitness industry, I still have some community, but I didn't have that. Um, I wasn't getting better at anything. I was kind of stagnant with everything. So like pickleball, like or anything really, and like you play chess, like when you get better, man, you just get passionate about it and you want to get
Hmm.
better. And so I think it was just like this one combination of all these things that I was kind of missing. And physical activity was a bonus. I was getting that, but it's awesome to like hustle, right? And break a sweat playing a sport. So it was really just this perfect combination of a bunch of things that I was missing that I didn't realize I was missing, but I knew was really important to well-being. And I don't want to sound like I was miserable or anything. Like I was pretty happy, but it's one of those things where you don't know that you could be even happier if you don't find the thing that makes you happy. So that's pickleball for me, and that to me is like what I think is the draw for most people. They don't have that combination of things. They might have little pieces of it here and there in their lives, but pickleball is just like, here, you can have it all right now.
Yeah, one of the I don't know if you are familiar with Adam Grant. I'm assuming you would
Yeah,
be familiar with
yeah,
him. So his book Hidden Potential I thought was really good.
yeah,
And one of the things he talked about was having a hobby and the
yeah,
importance of it. And I think it's been a minute since I read it, but I think he was saying something about how like a lot of professional athletes play golf because it's something that's separate. It's a hobby that they could still use some athleticism, but it's also not dangerous. It's not like we have
yeah,
in a baseball player going and playing a local rugby league on the weekends.
yeah.
Like that is too dangerous for them,
Right.
when they're worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. But yeah, the importance of getting better at a certain hobby. So I think it's interesting that, yeah, for you, it's pickleball. For me, it's chess and sort of golf, but that's, I don't know,
Yeah.
but I do also like the community aspect of pickleball. Kind of, give a 30-second, if somebody's maybe interested in pickleball, but they haven't done it yet, they haven't committed. What's your sales pitch?
You just so this is the interesting thing. Like if you and I showed up at a court and we were playing with each other and then 20 people showed up, the etiquette is you all kind of play together. You have open play because no one really owns that court.
Mm.
So go to a court where maybe there's people that are beginner or intermediate. I'm sure at this point somebody knows someone who plays pickleball.
Oh yeah.
Bring them into your or go into their world and just ask for advice. Just show up to the courts. You probably have a friend. Watch a few YouTube videos. Everybody is actually really cool. It's kind of like people don't think this, but the gym, people help you in the gym if you ask questions.
Oh
And
yeah.
pickleball is the same thing. Like maybe you'll suck. Maybe you won't even know how to hit the ball. It took me like 2 months to learn all the rules and how to say the score and all this crap, but it's okay. I'm hooked, man. And like I tell people, like I'm relatively new. Like I think I've been playing for 8 months or so. Like I'm open to feedback. I ask people like, "Are you open to feedback?" And everybody's usually really cool. So
the skill floor, the skill ceiling is obviously very high, but the
Yeah.
skill floor is very low to be able to kind of get in and
Hmm.
just start playing. I showed up, one of my buddies was like, "Hey, do you want to play pickleball?" I had never done it before, and this was last summer. And
Yeah.
so I went over, or I think I Amazon Primed, a racket or a paddle or whatever they're called,
Yeah, we
and
call them paddles.
paddles. Okay.
Yeah.
So I Amazon Primed a paddle, and
Yeah.
it was a great time. I mean, it was really fun. First time trying it. It's not like something that's super complicated to get into.
Yeah.
Um, Dovetailing off the pickleball conversation, give me the playbook on if you were starting out again, CrossFit doesn't exist, your hobby's pickleball. How are you building a business out of pickleball nutrition consulting? I'm assuming
Man,
you
yeah.
are you first off, you're making a ton of conversations, you're showing up at the courts. I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's something along the lines of you are just talking to people about nutrition, maybe wearing a t-shirt that says like, "Hey, I'm Mike Doehla. I help people with nutrition in the pickleball space," something
Yeah.
super specific. But yeah, give me the playbook.
Oh yeah, I would. So I am. It's weird because if people knew me when I was a kid, like I was really shy. Like I was kind of weird about how shy I was. And now like I'm that dude that will talk to anybody that, I'm not going to run up to like random strangers, but like if there's like a shared community, I'll talk to anybody. So I get pretty well known really quick in these circles, just because I'm very talkative. So I would probably wear a t-shirt, probably wouldn't have my name, but I would do like pickleball nutrition. I coach pickleballers to whatever, improve their nutrition. I would start a group on Facebook. I would probably drop random hints on this app called Team Reach. Now, Team Reach is an app that has every court basically has a code where people can like schedule like, hey, do four people want to play at 9 a.m. or whatever? And you can communicate. It's like a regular message board. I would probably post like hints and tips and tactics and all that stuff there. And then I would probably take advantage of the community aspect where you help a few people. And now pickleball, like one of the cool things about it is it's very accessible for all body types. Like there
Oh
there
yeah.
are people who do not look like they can run around a court who are actually doing really well. But if they lose 50 pounds, like, wow, they're cruising. So there would be benefits. People would start getting better. I think there's actually a trainer online that focuses on pickleballers for fitness, which I think is a great niche. And I would just try to do the pickleball version of that. So I don't know. It's all testing. I would try this stuff and see how it works, and I would be kind of patient because I have to think back. Like I didn't get a bunch of clients until yapping about this stuff for a while.
I'm curious if any coaches listening to this end up trying this, shoot Mike and I a message. If you
Yeah.
are like, okay, I'm going all in on the pickleball thing, or at least I'm testing the waters on the pickleball nutrition thing, shoot us a message.
Well, I own the
So,
Pickleball Nutrition Facebook group. I have not done a single thing with it. I just locked it
do you
down.
really?
Yeah, I have it. So Pickleball
I
Nutrition
love
is mine.
that. I love
Yeah,
that. It's never a bad idea to start staking out your territory
yeah,
just in
right.
case. So over the however many years, I don't even know how long your career's been. Decade, two decades.
Well, no. I started. I started the CrossFit thing in 2013.
Okay.
Started the nutrition thing 2015. So, I mean, if you count the couple of years I've been out of the game, it's been about a decade or so.
So in that decade, you've worked with literally thousands of people, whether it's you directly or the coaches that
Yeah.
you hired. You've seen a lot of things, worked with a lot of people. The biggest transformations, the people who had the biggest transformations, what did they have in common? Were there any characteristics, any processes they followed to a T?
Yeah.
What do they have in common?
Can I make a joke first?
Yeah,
They
please.
didn't they didn't send me money and then argue with me about everything I told them. That was step one. I think it's
That's not a joke. It's
no, it's
real.
not a joke. I'm not laughing, but yeah, it's incredible to me that people are like, "Hey, you can help me," and I'm like, "Yeah, here's how to send me money. Here, fill this out." And then I'm like, "Here's what we're gonna do," and they basically say some version of, "No, I'm not going to do that." So it's like, clients, you need to be open minded because whatever the heck you were doing didn't work. It led you here. So just listen. Like we have the track record. I never told anyone I was awesome. I never told anyone our company is amazing and we're the best. I let all the other people that ran through the company tell that for me. with their results, with their stories, in their networks, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's be open-minded to the advice. Drop the baggage that you have from all these previous nonsensical diets, because these rules, and you follow a very similar philosophy where it's like it's basic nutritional science. Like someone asked me a while ago, they were like, how did you get all the coaches on the same on board with your philosophies? I'm like, I didn't invent nutritional science. I just packaged this up with like customer service and a cool company culture. It's you need to eat the right amount of calories for your activity and your goals. You need to prioritize protein. You need to eat fruits and vegetables and all that fun stuff. But you can have a little bit of the quote unquote fun stuff in moderation. Here's how you work it in. And we had people track their macros. If people didn't really want to do that, we would dig in and ask them, because it was usually just an issue with like they were just scared or intimidated because they didn't know. It's like a kid that's afraid of the dark. It's like they just don't know what's there. So you show them what's there, and then they're not scared. It's people that were patient. They treated a lot of the methodologies as like a dimmer switch versus an on and off switch. A lot of people treat diets like, oh, I messed up. Well, that's it. It's like, no, turn the dial. Like sometimes it's bright, sometimes it's dim, but as long as it's on, you're going to be fine. That's dude. It was you can find who's going to be successful very soon. I think there's a lot of people out there. We ran across a lot of them that were just like, I just don't want to. I don't feel like it. It's difficult. It's this, it's that. And like the truth is, it is, but you don't have to vocalize that all the time. Like keep that shit to yourself, because it does no benefit to anyone. You could talk to your coach and be like, yeah, this is what's going on. But don't come with the I don't want to, I can't, it's impossible, I'm broken. It's like, you're not all this metabolism broken nonsense. Like it's nothing but it's crab in the bucket mentality. It keeps people in the dark. And I was like, I was so sick of seeing people struggle when we had the answers, and seeing them uncover the answers and get out of their own way. It was like so much fun. I tell people like building the company was like the most fun I've ever had. It was so fun to do this for people. Big pain in the ass at times, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's like everyone just needs to get out of their own damn way and listen to the people who have helped arguably more people than anyone in the industry. Like our team, oh my God, the experience we have. That's why, like, you call me humble, but there's some times where I see posts from coaches and I'm like, you don't know shit. Don't argue with me. You haven't even seen this yet. We saw this 50,000 times. Let me help you.
Yeah. No, I think there's a difference between like humility, but then also earned confidence.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have is the earned confidence, and I think that comes with you help more and more and more people, and you deal with all these cases. It's like a pre-med student arguing with a doctor who's been in the game 50 years and has done how many brain surgeries or heart surgeries or
Yeah.
whatever, and a pre-med student being like, "Have you checked his cholesterol?" It's like,
Well, yeah.
what are you
It's
talking about?
the things people argue with me. They're like, well, maybe it's this. I'm like, it's not that. It's this person is eating more food than they realize.
Oh yeah,
Statistically, if we're betting on this, I will bet anything I have on that being the issue. Someone's like, well, it
right.
could be this, it could be that, it could be no. It's we live in a world where it's easy to overeat and it's really
Yep.
enjoyable and life is hard, and that person doesn't know how to track food, and we have the research that suggests like we know it's calories. Like let's stop arguing about that. And
Yep.
we know that people track horribly by themselves. They do really well when they're with a coach most of the time if they're open-minded. But when people argue that it might be this, it's like, no, it's you don't become overweight or obese by eating 1,200 calories. You
It's
do
not
it
happening.
by,
It's not, yeah.
yeah, eating quite a bit more.
So the three things that you really mentioned that made clients more successful was they looked at their fitness and their nutrition as a dimmer switch rather than the on off switch.
Yeah.
They see it as not this all or nothing thing, which huge proponent of trying to get away from all or nothing. That's not a revolutionary take. That's a very normal and popular take. It's just something that I think a lot of people fall into, is that all or nothing trap. So I love the dimmer switch
And they
analogy.
do it by themselves. A lot of people that push back on some of these methodologies, it's because people try it by themselves, crash
Yeah.
and burn, and then run around and say, "Oh, tracking didn't work for me." It's like, well, yeah, building a barn wouldn't happen if you did it by yourself. Like if you do it with a
Right.
bunch of teammates that have built a bunch of barns, you're going to be successful. So all
Yeah.
the arguments from coaches about like, well, this person said they tracked and they didn't do well. It's like, well, they did it by themselves. You're the expert. Teach them how to do it. And my
Yeah. Have
theory is
the
a lot of
education in
coaches,
place.
they never tracked anything themselves because they didn't have to, because they live the life of someone who is healthy and fit and jacked and into all this crap. Our clients, for the most part, this is not their hobby and interest. This is just
Yeah.
something they want to improve. And it's like, when I think about the difficulty that people have, it's like, no, duh, this is hard. This is the life of a coach. This is just a pain in the ass for the average person. So we have to make it as easy as possible. And we have to get it to work relatively quickly. Now, I'm not talking crash diet, but I'm also not talking like a lot of coaches are talking now, where it's like, just be consistent, be patient. It's going to happen. It's like, it's not going to happen because they're doing it wrong. And you're 4 weeks into this diet and there's no results. Something's going on. Dig into
Yep.
it. Don't be afraid to offend this person. Ask questions and uncover the usual suspects of what is causing the stagnation. You see me getting
And
all
the other
excited.
thing, no, I love it.
Yeah.
No, because I
Missed
completely agree. It's like, when you say we have to make it easier, that's the whole point of
that.
everything that I do. I mean, literally, the name of this podcast, the tagline in my bio is lowering the barrier, making it easier for people. And I frequently am telling both coaches and clients that, yes, this is our life. It is one tiny component of our clients' lives or the general population's lives. Like, they do care about, they probably, most people probably do care about aging and healthy and being healthy, but they don't want that to come at the cost of it dominating their life and becoming this like thing that's on the front of their brain constantly.
Yeah.
It needs to be basically on autopilot. So how do we do that? We
Yeah.
educate them to make it as autonomous as possible.
And the interesting thing about it is like, it kind of has to be a little bit more in front than people want to put it, because
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it
for a
is
while.
it
Yeah.
yeah it like I've said to people, I've gotten pushback, but I truly stand by it. I think this does have to be a part of your identity. I think if you want to
Yes.
be a healthier person and more fit, I think you have to identify with that type of person. You can't just put a mask on every couple months to lose 10 pounds. Like, you need to start becoming that person and thinking about who in my network can help me be that person, whether it's coaches, family, friends, CrossFit people, or gym people, whatever. How do I make it easier to make healthier decisions? How do I get to sleep? What do I have to do? Like, this shit doesn't just happen by accident, but that's what
Yeah,
people
you're
want. They think it's just like, oh, I'll just do this. It's like, no, man.
yeah.
But like coaches like yourself and our coaches, man, we were basically like healthy lifestyle designers, really.
One of my favorite, I hate to say favorite transformations, but one of my clients that I've worked with that I really, really enjoyed this process was, she was known as the wine mom in her circles. She would go to Napa Valley annually. She literally was known as like the wine drinker. She would always get expensive wine. She was a doctor, and she was like, "This isn't healthy for me. It's infringing on my lifestyle." She had the rack of really expensive wine wool on, in a glass case and stuff like that. She showed me her cabinet, like, look at this. But she didn't want that anymore. She didn't
Yeah.
want to be that. And so I said, okay, then what we need to do isn't just like, oh, I need you to drink less wine. We need to have this total brand identity shift, which means that you may have to talk to your husband about this. You may have to talk to your friends about
Yeah.
this, your friend circle. And I, asked her, I didn't tell her, but I asked her, would you be okay with getting rid of the wine cabinet? She said, it was so funny.
Yeah.
She's like, one of these doors, these are glass doors, like custom made. She's like, one of these doors is $3,000. I can't
Yeah.
get rid of
Yeah.
the cabinet. Okay,
They're
fair.
probably really cool. Yeah.
It looked amazing. It looked awesome. So I said, instead, what if we tried this? I laid out a few options, and the option that she really liked was, what if we got some just mason jars? And every time you go on a vacation with your family, you fill it with little mementos. Maybe it's some sand, maybe it's a little knickknack, maybe it's a seashell, maybe it's whatever. And you fill it, maybe it's a Polaroid photo of you guys on vacation, but whatever it is, You fill that mason jar up with like a few little knickknacks, you throw it in the glass jar. Now we're getting one step closer to this brand identity shift for you. Like, we need to
Yeah.
think of you as a business, and how do we shift what you have been branded as to what you want to be branded as. And it's like you said, like, that's not something that's just an immediate shift overnight. That takes
Yeah.
work. She had a vacation with her med school friends, and she communicated them ahead of time. Hey, I'm trying to get away from drinking.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be known as the wine person anymore. This weekend, I'm going to abstain from any alcohol because it is a drastic shift I'm trying to make. And guess what? Nobody
Yeah.
gave a shit. They were all really supportive of her. They thought it was cool. And it's like, so that, I totally agree with you. Now I'm getting worked up because it's like, it is exciting seeing these
Yeah.
changes, but it does take a lot of work, to make it autonomous. I think one thing that really helps out with that is the systemized education, which, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys had some pretty good education when you were at Stronger You, right?
Yeah, we had some formal-ish stuff, but a lot of it was just constant exposure. Like, we basically talked about the same 10 things over and over and over. And I probably need to be studied about how I didn't go crazy answering the same 10 questions, but it's okay. I loved it because I always answered it for a new person. And I swear I was probably high on the dopamine of like helping people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had some pretty good stuff. Like we used to say, and we had surveys that support this. Like our clients were some of the most educated nutritional clients in the world. Like they
Yeah.
knew so much helpful stuff. And I'm not talking like all this like boring biochemistry stuff that's going on in the body. I'm talking about like how to make smart decisions with your food and how to snack less and how to prep protein that you'll enjoy. Like the
The
stuff that actually
practical
matters,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
actually makes a lifestyle change. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's why like
So,
I'm sometimes would have like in a random Facebook group, someone would be like, Mike, are you even an RD? Basically hinting at that I had no business helping people with food. And I'm like, well, I'm legally allowed to based on my certifications and insurances and all that crap. But if you, RD, want to crap on my credentials, why don't we take 5 people to the grocery store and after we will quiz them and see who got more out of it or
yeah,
who gave more helpful information, you or me.
right.
And
Yeah.
based on the experiences I've had, I might not be able to talk like I'm a science textbook, but I can talk like someone who has helped a shit ton of people figure this stuff out.
Right. And that's where I mean, it's not that you don't have the education and the knowledge to help people. It's that you understand what is going to move the needle the most,
Yeah.
and that comes with, yeah, the education, but also the experience. And that's really what a lot of coaching is about, is getting the reps in,
Yeah.
like, you just need to help a lot of people, work with a lot of people, and talk to a lot of people.
Right.
So, just like summarizing, that section for the people who are trying to get the key takeaways. If you want to be a successful, I'm going to say the word client, but if you want to be successful with a lifestyle change, the three things that Mike is, kind of highlighting here is: don't view it as all or nothing. Try to view it as a dimmer switch. Be patient, but maybe not too patient. If things
Right.
aren't working after 3-4 weeks, adjust. You need to
Yeah.
dig in. And the last thing he mentioned was control your autonomy. Don't just blame shit on, oh, my metabolism must be broken. No, you're eating too much. Don't blame it
Yeah.
on, these random things that, your cortisol, or will your hormones maybe
Yeah.
make it a harder time for you. For example,
Yeah.
PCOS, menopause. Will these things make it potentially harder for you? Absolutely. That does not change that you have autonomy over controlling your decisions.
Yeah, it's the
So those would be the
I
three
often
things.
say like hormones are like your high school friends. They're gonna like influence you to do certain things, but
I love that.
you don't have to
Yeah,
say yes.
I
And
love
yeah,
that.
maybe they'll
That's
make
a
fun of you
really
a
good
little bit, but
analogy.
you'll be okay. Yeah.
So moving on to, we've talked about pickleball. We've talked about, from the general population perspective, what they should do to be successful. And we've talked a little bit about coaches, but I do want to, I think a lot of coaches especially would really benefit from hearing more from you. So um, one of the things that I kind of teased earlier on the episode was that coaches right now are, in general, are maybe afraid or at least hesitant of sharing client success, and
Yeah.
specifically before and after photos. You and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
And that, whether we like it or not, whether the people like it or not, whether the industry, I don't care who it is, people buy what they want to achieve,
Yeah.
right? And so if you see somebody with a crazy transformation, you might see yourself in that person's shoes and be like, he did that, she did that. I want to be able to do that. So can you tell me a little bit about your gripes with coaches who are hesitant toward that?
Yeah, it's gonna try to articulate my thoughts here. First, again, a joke. You remember in high school, right? Someone was like, I have a girlfriend, but she goes to a different school. That's why you've never seen her, right? The
Yeah. Oh
convenient
yeah.
excuse why you never met them. So there's a lot of coaches right now that are saying things like, oh, I'm just not sharing the pictures because I don't feel comfortable. So my theory is a lot of people don't have the pictures or the success
Yeah.
stories. So they conveniently lean on, I think it's wrong to post. On the other side, it's people who are trying to do what they ethically think is the right thing by not comparing bodies or making like someone's fitness transformation the star of the show. But it really is. It's like, what are people buying? Like, yes, they want to be healthier. Absolutely. You can also get health by losing weight. Now, we're all good coaches. We're safe coaches. We're not doing anything crazy to make people starve just to get some abs for a photo. Most of your audience is not that either. Now, these people out there do exist, though. Some of these crash diet companies, like, I don't know, I don't want to name any names, but they will starve people nearly to a miserable existence just to sell the product.
Yeah.
The potential customers that we could reach are going to be attracted to those companies from those stories and those pictures. So if you don't want to share them as a coach, just understand your competition probably will, and your customer wants what those other companies are offering. They want to look a little leaner. Uh, at the hesitancy of saying better, because someone will try to yell at me about saying, oh, the leaner version is better. Well, the world is an interesting place. It is not necessarily fair, but it does reward certain body types and health. It's just what is happening in the world. Now we can try to change the world, or we can play within the the guardrails of the game, such as capitalism. We all kind of think it's a little messed up and exploitive and all this, but I don't know. Like, I'm gonna play that game because if I don't, I'm gonna be on my ass. So I think if you're a coach and you have these transformations and you have these texts and all these quotes from people that are like, you changed my life, you better show your damn work, because if you're not, your potential customers will find someone who will show their work. And if you're a good coach, you know that you can get these people leaner and you could improve their relationship with food, improve their health, improve nearly every aspect of their life through improved nutrition and fitness. So why are you hiding from that? Because some social justice warrior coach that you follow who used to post them but somehow conveniently doesn't anymore because their circle of followers is 300,000 and they could sell anything to them at this point tells you it's wrong? Well, you may just be working yourself out of a job for some moral superiority complex. That's my opinion
Yeah.
on it. Stronger You was
No, I
built by changing people, and when we started having coaches who were like, I don't want to share, I don't think it's right, they're working themselves out of a job. Literally, some of these people are not employed anymore. And that's, to me, interesting.
I think the main thing here is, like you said, it's like other companies. Not only do we have to play ball, but this isn't a nefarious thing. Like, yeah, other companies are going to do it, so we should do it too. And maybe somebody who's listening might be like, oh, isn't that a little, isn't that kind of isn't that nefarious? I suppose, for lack of a better term. I don't think so, because one, what are people buying into?
Right. What are they,
Health
when
or
you get a new
aesthetics,
customer,
right?
what do they tell you? I want to look and feel better. Okay,
Yep.
cool. But we got people
Great.
arguing
Let's
with
do
them
that.
about that. Oh, don't worry about the way
Yeah.
you look. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Your circle of friends
Yeah.
are all super in shape, and you're going to run around telling people not to care. Like, you
Yeah.
only hang out with fit people. Like, I
And
see
the
through this bullshit, man.
And the beautiful thing is that health and aesthetics, and this is something, oh my God, I will die on this hill. Health and aesthetics are almost always intertwined.
Right.
And like obviously we can go to extremes, right? Where somebody's like just trying to get thinner and thinner and thinner, and at a certain point, okay, their view of what's aesthetically pleasing is not aligned with
Right.
what's healthy. But and so there is some subjectiveness with aesthetics and things like that.
And
But
you
when
know,
most people are talking about like losing
right.
body fat and gaining muscle,
Yeah.
that is going to be a healthy pursuit. So it
Yeah.
does it really matter what kinds of biases we put onto that client or
Yeah.
that general population? Like, no, we need to hold our, whatever our self limiting beliefs are and not impose them onto the individual. That's
Right.
something I feel so strongly about.
It's one of the, I mean, dude, I could tell you stories, man, when some of these clients would post their pictures, just within the next couple hours, $10,000 and 40 clients. Don't quote me on the
Right.
math there, but tons of people would just sign up. Like literally,
Yeah.
coaches had jobs because a couple clients posted pictures.
Yeah,
It's just
there's nothing quite like, I mean, they become a walking billboard. And not
that's
only
it.
that, but
That's
like
it.
that client is very proud of the work that they put in. It's
Yeah.
not like you are taking their work and being like, and they're ashamed of what they did and oh, don't
Right.
show anybody. No, they're submitting photos, they're sharing photos. And of course, from a coach's, just as a heads up for a coach, get their permission first,
Yeah. Yeah.
just
100%.
like run it by them, make sure they're okay with you using their shirtless photos for
Right.
marketing or
And
whatever
people
it is.
want to like, and that's why I was so conscious of like bringing people into my world and being like, listen, this is incredible what you did. This can
Yeah.
inspire
Yeah.
so many people. It's a win
Yeah.
for that person. It's a win for us. It's making people happier and healthier. It's not misleading them. It's just like you said, man. I have a friend that has a painting company, and it's like if he never shows what he can do, and he just kind of says like, "Trust me, like I can make you feel good in
I
your
can do
house.
it.
Like your walls
Yeah.
can be blue. Trust me." It's like, no, show me the freaking blue walls, man.
Yeah, exactly. We want to see the work. We want to see the
Yeah.
testimonials. We want to see the results. Speaking of the results and things like that, as we move forward into this kind of, it's a very weird world with AI advancing as fast as it is. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had internet for what, 30 years, something like that. But AI, it's like we had it last year. I think 2024, maybe 2023 started kind of coming out a little bit, and it's advancing at such a fast rate now. What do you think the industry looks like in the next 5 to 10 years with the conversation of AI in mind?
To me, the biggest opportunity is, or the biggest risk to coaches is if people trust it, not necessarily coaches use it in general. I think the biggest benefit coaches have is that they're human, and a lot of potential clients don't understand how helpful, knowledgeable, quick these AI systems could be. I think you could probably program an AI now with some of the best research and coaching practices. You could probably upload motivational interviewing book to it, and it could outcoach most people in the industry. The issue is most potential clients don't know that yet. They would rather have a slower and less informed coach that actually costs more money. So to me, that's the risk to coaches is that if this AI system is empathetic, which we know it can be, it's going to be
Yep.
quicker because it doesn't
Yep.
have to hear the ding on their phone and type some words or look up anything. It can just take people's lunch, I think. And that excites me in a way, and I'll probably offend people with this comment, but I was never really here for coaches. I love helping coaches, but my main concern is the people that need help who have not gotten help and maybe struggled their whole lives with their nutrition and their health. And if there's something that can come out that can help these people, which is why I'm a fan of weight loss drugs in general, I think like they're helping people better than a lot of systems out there that are supposed to help them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Absolutely.
It's hard, man. It's hard to be so like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a political term where I'm just like, I what I say makes everybody happy. I can't do that. I have to say what I actually feel, and if people get upset by that, they have to understand my message was always people are being tricked and misled in this industry. I wanted to create something that was straight up and got them where they needed to go. So that is still where I think people need us. They need something that can help them. And if that means a
It,
bunch of coaches are out of a job, that's okay. AI is going to, rock the boat a little bit.
yeah, I mean, that's what I think led to largely. I mean, a large part of your success, I think, is because you lead with a person-centric, focus.
Yeah.
It's not like build the business first and then see if clients can get good results. It's
Yeah.
get clients great
Yeah.
results, talk about them, and as a result, we build the business. And so I think it's the same thing as like you are helping coaches right now because you want to help as many people as possible, and
Yeah.
that's the most direct route. And as we can see it, is if we can help
Yeah.
improve coaching outcomes and their communication and their knowledge and their practical advice, if we can
Yeah.
help them do that, then we will get better client outcomes on. But if a tool comes along that can help them for cheaper, quicker, more effectively, higher quality,
Yep.
it's like it's hard to argue against that when you
To the
have a
customer.
person
Yeah.
led. Yeah, I mean,
And
it's hard to
it's
argue against that.
what's funny is I'm sitting here and I'm like, am I consistent with my thoughts on this? And I think of the feedback from coaches, which used to be, you care way more about the clients than you do the coaches. And straight up, I did, because without clients, no one is here. And
Yeah,
is that
right.
controversial? Am I another evil CEO? Possibly. But without caring about them first, there's no job to be done. That doesn't mean
Yeah,
I don't care about coaches. It means that most of my attention is going to be in the happiness of the clients here.
right. Yeah, no, like you said, if there's no clients, there's no business. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, we can have a million coaches, doesn't mean a thing. A million clients, we got some business to take care of. We have people to serve, and so yeah, it's the customer is always right is somewhat true here in the perspective of sometimes they're wrong,
And
with like calorie
sometimes,
counting and
yeah,
things like that.
sometimes,
But
yeah,
but in terms of like the customer's always right, we need to keep them happy. That
yeah,
perspective. That is true, and
yeah,
sometimes, like you said, we do need to have those tough conversations that may hurt their feelings in the short term, but in the long run, it's going to be beneficial for them.
yeah. And the issue is like when you're the staff member, like you do want everything to happen that makes your life easier and better. But I think I was always pretty good at like basically like what I think is chess. I don't play chess, but it's like you move this one thing, oh, all hell's going to break loose. If I make this move, that's going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. And those are the sort of tactics I would always implement in my decision making, which if you're a client or you're a coach that was on my staff, you don't necessarily have to think like that, which I don't blame you, but I do want people to be a little open-minded to like decision making in business. It's like let's see if we can get the most people possible to win here. It's not
Yeah.
you against them per se, but it is like, okay, 50,000 people could be happy or six of the coaches. I'm going with the 50,000 every time.
Last question from me, and then we'll get it wrapped up here. As somebody who has, climbed the capitalism ladder and won, I mean, you did it. You're what a lot of people are trying to do in terms of, especially business owners, right? Because there is that that risk to owning a business too, where it's like
Yeah.
you might not climb that ladder nearly as
Yeah.
far. But
That's why I tell
um,
people don't set out to climb the top of the ladder. Find your, what's the Japanese term, ikigai, which
yeah,
is what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you like to
what
do.
you love, yeah.
Yeah, right. That was my story. So when people want to win the game, they're thinking about it wrong. Sorry to jump ahead
The No,
there.
no, no. That was actually great, and I mean, it does kind of lead into this. It's what advice do you have for people who are still in that grind phase? For the business owners, for not just the business owners, but the people in the corporate careers, the people in the 9 to 5s, the people, whatever it is, the entrepreneurs, whatever it is. What advice do you have?
Oh man, we could do a whole podcast on this. I think to me the biggest issue is I think everybody needs or wants their purpose and meaning to come from their job, and it doesn't have to. I think you can have that outside of work. And I think of like back when I was like working a 9 to 5, Fridays were like the coolest, man. Friday, when it was like 4 o'clock and you had an hour left, that happiness, like baseline, was so high. We don't have that anymore. And I think of it like with my kids, I'm with them all the time. But I bet you people get a harder happiness hit when they get home from work and they see their kids than I do at all because I'm with them all the time. I'm not saying I would trade that. But what I'm saying is a lot of people think that work is the way to happiness and purpose and all this when like it could be outside of it. I'm not saying deal with a situation that you don't like for work, but I also don't think there's that much in our control. I think sometimes we get lucky finding what we're good at and what the world needs and, all that fun stuff. But for a lot of us, it just kind of happens over time. We just meet some of the right people. Like I could distill this story down to a few key meetings. I might not have sold my business if it wasn't for Stronger You t-shirts. Now that's probably confusing to
Wow.
people, but a guy that worked for Anytime Fitness went to a gym with someone who had a boatload of Stronger You t-shirts. He Googled what it was. He got introduced. He signed up. He had great results. And then ultimately we sold to the business he worked for at the time. So it's like
That's
these
crazy.
stories are, everyone has the potential to have a story like that, but you don't have the potential to control it. So just meet as many people as you can, be cool to people, be helpful, work hard and be great at what you're doing. And then maybe something cool will happen. But don't get discouraged if it doesn't, because it's not necessarily your fault.
I agree. We could actually do a whole episode on this. This
Yeah.
is really good. One thing, before we wrap it up, that you said was like you found something that you were good at. And do you know Magnus Carlsen? He's like the world's greatest, maybe of all time in chess.
I know
Some
of
people
the
know his
person.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some people at least have heard his name, but yeah, he's considered the greatest of all time, if at least the greatest of right now, but probably the
Mhm.
greatest of all time in chess. And he said when people talk to him, they frequently say that he's a genius or that he's just like this super intelligent person and he could handle any problem in the world. And he said, I'm good at a board game,
Yeah.
and that's it. And if I was doing anything else, I don't know if I'd be nearly as good at that thing. And I think it's a really like honest and clearly humble. Now, when it comes to the chessboard, he has earned confidence like you do in business, like you do in coaching people, but it's finding out what you're good at and then plugging away at it, doing your best, meeting a bunch of people, and hoping that you get lucky. Whether it's
Yeah.
t-shirts, whether it's a conversation, whether whatever it is, And the harder you work, the more, I don't want to like totally, you just said like maybe it's not all about work and things like that, and totally agree
Yeah.
with that. But the harder you work, the more chances you put out there, the luckier you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You're going to have these just moments of luck that come along. And speaking for myself, it's exactly how it happened for me. It's like this whole thing with forward growing, it
Mhm.
being built and growing, that all just started because I was driving down to Detroit one day and I said to Maddie, like, hey, DM this person, see if she wants to do something, because I was seeing an opportunity in the comments of an Instagram post. So it's like I took a chance and now it's grown into this thing that's, changed the trajectory of my business so
Right.
greatly. And so I think for any coaches, but also any non-coaches, which is the greater majority of people out there, believe it or not, you wouldn't believe it based on what you see on Instagram. Everybody's a
Yeah.
fitness and nutrition
Everyone's
coach
a,
these days.
everyone's a fitness and nutrition coach.
Yeah, everybody is.
Good for me. It was very easy to get into the industry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean hypocritical because that it was me
Yeah.
too. I hopped in, but yeah, it's keep doing what you got to do. The ikigai, I think it is. I don't know how to
Yep.
say it, but try to find something that aligns with that, and
Yep.
then stick with it. But also know that work from somebody who has reached the pinnacle of what most people would consider capitalistic success. He has also realized that work is not everything. There's a
Oh,
whole lot of life to be had outside of work.
people don't know how lazy I could be. People are like, "Oh, what's next?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Like, I got a
Pickleball.
Lego set. You want to talk about that?" Yeah. because I was
All
not
right.
like a lot of people that had, these stories. There was clues coming up. Like I
Yeah.
went to community college. I was 30, not knowing what I wanted to do, not making a lot of money, very lacked ambition. And then I was like, let me just try this thing. And it just happened. So
And it
yeah.
worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up there. Mike, this has been awesome. This is normally the time where I have people plug their services, plug their Instagram account, their website, things like that. Do you have anything that you want to plug?
Uh no, like you could follow me at Mike Doehla on these
Yeah.
channels and ask me questions if you have them. I'm happy to answer them. Yeah, I don't have anything to sell.
That's
Sorry.
it then. All right. We'll wrap it up there. All right. Thanks so much. And thanks for listening, everybody. All right. Take care.